All right, going live in 10. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Rotoworld Fantasy Basketball Q&A. I'm Raphielle Johnson, joined as always by Noah Rubin. Noah, we're towards the end of a lighter game week because of the NBA Cup. How's everything been going for you in terms of this week?
It's been going good. It's been fun to tune in to some of these NBA Cup games that have been not quite as exciting as maybe I was hoping for, but still pretty good. And then others just fun basketball. Excited to see if we can get some even closer games this weekend. So,
Yeah, agree with that. Is there really any? I think the only suspense really was early on in the Orlando-Miami game.
right.
Desmond Bain caught fire, but everything else, kind of know who the best four teams are in terms of the NBA Cup right now. So
right.
I think I'm interested to see how the Spurs handle that stage on Saturday. Obviously, NBA Cup, nothing like the NBA playoffs, but for a team that young, it's a good opportunity to play with some actual stakes on the line against the reigning champs and see where they stock up. Hopefully, Wemby can play, but if not, we've seen they still have plenty of talent on that roster to kind of hold down the fort. So,
yeah.
All right. Got some questions lined up already. First is Isaac. Thanks for another great week of content. We appreciate you for tuning in. 12-team 9-cat head-to-head. Is Kawhi a sell high while he's playing back-to-backs and healthy, or do you continue to hold on to him? How's the Clippers underachieving affect his rest of season outlook?
I was going to say the underachieving aspect is probably a little bit more concerning to me than the, hey, he's playing back-to-backs and he's healthy. Do I need to get rid of them while that's the case before he, inevitably gets hurt or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a little scary. The fact that, even if they're not going to tank to improve their lottery odds, they might tank just to say, hey, there's no reason to have Kawhi play in these meaningless games. You could look to trade him to get someone of pretty equal value. I wouldn't look at taking too much of a hit, though, because since they don't have their pick, if they figure things out at all, they're going to try to make the postseason up until maybe pulling the plug, depending on how poorly it goes, maybe like late March. So it could end up being that he's playing until after your fantasy playoffs are even over. So I wouldn't look to, sure, sell high would be fair. You're selling him for someone that would be of equal value. I wouldn't take a value hit, though, basically.
Yeah. I think I'd hold on to him. As you mentioned, they don't have control of their draft pick. Oklahoma City does. So I think there's less reason for them to kind of pull the plug. Maybe they just wait until it comes to a point where they truly have to. And I don't know if they're going to get to that point before your fantasy playoffs. And in terms of a lot of leagues, I think most people are having those in March as opposed to, kind of waiting a little bit later. So I think you should be fine. I would hold on to him just because he can give you that first round value when available. So I think I would hold on to him. And I think more so than how the team is underachieved is the fact that, like we said, the lottery pick situation, whereas where they really don't have the incentive to pull the plug just because they don't control that pick. Speaking of teams who actually do control their lottery picks, we're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. PJ Washington's rest of season value, now that Derek Lively's done for the year, and then the various trade rumors, what do we think about him?
PJ Washington has been pretty good recently.
Yeah.
Obviously he's locked in as a starter. I don't know how much I'm changing how I value him based on Derek Lively being out, because it doesn't really impact his, the fact that he is going to start. Interested to see how he looks over their next few games, because returning from a 4-game absence, he had the 5-steal game, which makes him look incredible. Before that, he was playing without Anthony Davis in the lineup. So interested to see how he looks over the next few games. I think that honestly, if you're looking just at recent numbers, I'd consider him a sell high.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he should still be really solid the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's averaging 1.2 steals and 1.2 blocks per game. So that's really helped in terms of mitigating the impact of the free throw percentage, which is 68% right now. So I think if anything, I would consider this an opportunity to sell high. Is even with that production defensively and the opportunities he gets on offense, he's still outside the top 109 cap in terms of basketball monsters numbers. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I would agree with the idea of trying to sell high, especially with Lively out, because they're going to have to play Anthony Davis more at center, whether he likes it or not. And I think that helps PJ out some. So in terms of the circumstances, I think I would strongly consider selling high because I don't think his ceiling's that great in terms of what he could potentially reach if he continues on this current run. All right, and Isaac's final question is: it KJ Simpson's season already, or is he more of a silly season guy?
I mean, if he's going to keep starting with LaMelo out, then
Yeah.
I would say that he is probably worth streaming and not like a super confident must stream guy in a 12-team league, but slightly deeper league, or if you just need the assists / steals in a standard league, I think that, yeah, he's an option. I'm not expecting him to be a long-term ad. Let me actually just double check this. Colin Sexton was out when KJ Simpson started as well.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, is Sexton out for tonight?
He's out. Yeah, he's out.
Okay.
Trey Mann is out. So yeah, they've got 3 rotation guards out.
And that's the reason it's like any of those guys coming back, obviously LaMelo being the other, then KJ Simpson loses all of his streaming value. So I think he's good for tonight. Could be good for Sunday. Don't know how much long-term value there is here, but potentially during silly season, maybe.
I think he's more of a silly season guy. Is even with the increased opportunities, still barely a top 150 guy over the last week in 8 cap. So yeah, I would I'm leaving him alone right now. Maybe we get to a point like February or March where he'll have increased value, but I don't think he's someone that I would be looking to make a move for right now. All right, Jiggy has a couple questions for us. Would you trade Dante DiVincenzo for Jordan Walsh?
I'm gonna use the cop-out answer here. I'm gonna try to not use it too much, but the cop-out answer is: what categories do you need? Yeah. Jordan Walsh has been awesome recently. I don't think he's gonna keep shooting 50% from 3 like he has recently. Literally last 2 weeks shooting 74% from the floor. Like, he's just not gonna keep shooting that well. Because we look back to him as a prospect, the reason he fell to the second round was because there were so many questions about his, like, what's he gonna do on offense? Like, how's he gonna is he gonna shoot the ball? So it's great to see him hitting shots. I don't think he's gonna shoot this well, but the defensive stats will be there. So if you need those steals, then and like blocks to an extent, I'd rather have Jordan Walsh. If you need more of the offense and the shooting, I'd rather just keep Dante DiVincenzo.
This feels a lot like our Josh Minot conversation like a month or so ago. And he was all the rage in fantasy. I was like, guys, he's Josh Minot for a reason. And sure enough, the minutes decreased, the opportunities decreased. Jordan Walsh may be in a slightly better situation because he's basically occupying the space that would belong to Jason Tatum when he's healthy. So he may have a better opportunity to provide value moving forward, but the man's shooting 72% from the field over the last week. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to sustain that. I'm not trading Dante DiVincenzo. I know it hasn't looked great in terms of his season-long value, but I just trust him more than I do Jordan Walsh. So I would not be making that trade unless you can get someone along with Jordan Walsh, and then that'll make a little more sense. But I don't know who would make a 2-for-1 trade with Dante DiVincenzo being the one either. So I would not do that. And he also asked, he's got 2 IL spots. Who are we stashing between Kelly Oubre, DeJounte Murray, Kyrie Irving, and Jason Tatum?
So I think we talked about this, maybe it was Tuesday or last week. It's, between the 3 guys that, like, other than Kelly Oubre, it feels like Jason Tatum has the best chance of returning at this point. Then Kyrie, then DeJounte. So I'm going to go ahead and say no DeJounte. And like, how do we feel about Kelly Oubre? Do we think that he's worth stashing because we haven't really seen him when this team is healthy. I assume that he's a starter alongside Maxey,
Yeah.
BJ, Paul George, and Embiid.
Mhm.
Like, would you rather have Kelly Oubre, who I don't know exactly how much longer he'll be out, or Kyrie, who may or may not return this season?
Yeah, Oubre could be back pretty soon. I think around Christmas. That would probably be optimistic. But if you're looking for someone who will definitely play again this season, I think Oubre would be one to consider stashing. I think he's more of a late round value guy, if anything, especially, the lineup that they expected to have out there with him and George at the forward spots, and then Embiid at the 5, and you got obviously Maxey and Edgecombe on the perimeter. That's a good spot for him to provide, solid deep late round value, but that's not really the best thing to have stashed in terms of value, even with the thought that he's probably going to be back. I would probably take the swing on Tatum and Irving. Even though we don't know for sure if Kyrie's going to play, I just think those two have the highest upsides when available. So those are the two that I would probably stash. And I think Oubre, you may be able to just grab him once he's cleared to play again anyway. So I think I would stash Kyrie and Tatum.
It's a good call. I think that's yeah. I just don't think I'm high enough on Kelly Oubre when this team is fully healthy.
Yeah.
For it to be worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Clint, good afternoon to you. Well, more Jordan Walsh conversation we just had. In terms of his performance and shooting percentages, obviously they've been out of the norm for him if you look at his career data. So I don't know. It's kind of rehashing what we just said about him, but what are your kind of rest of season thoughts on Jordan Walsh, I would say?
I think, and I know I said this about Josh Minon, it didn't end up happening, but I think he can start rest of season.
Yeah.
And I think, I've had him stashed in multiple dynasty leagues for a while. Mm-hmm. Didn't expect this type of offense, but knew the defense was there if he got the opportunity. I just got done recording a video about him like right before I did this too. So I had all my data up here with like the 50% from 3 this season, since he moved into the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. He's been red hot. I don't expect the shooting to stick in the sense that he's not going to keep shooting 50% from 3, but he should. Like, it seems like he's made legitimate strides there. So hopefully that's able to stick enough for him to not be a liability out there because he is an athletic defender and can get defensive stats. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, JD89. I lost Zach Edey, LaMelo Ball, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Franz Wagner in the span of a week. Who are some names I can stream for a while? Will Jay Huff be a good replacement for Edey? He also mentions Noah Clowney. Man, yes.
I'm sorry. Goodness, man. Well, just based off these guys, I don't think there's not a streamer for Giannis in my opinion. Yeah. Actually, did
Bobby Portis had a good night last night.
So maybe Bobby Portis as a streamer for LaMelo. We just talked about KJ Simpson, but I don't know. Zach Edey.
Think about. Go ahead.
We'll stick with who we were talking about before I moved to Zach Edey.
Okay, yeah. In terms of Giannis, Bobby Portis and Kyle Kuzma combined to shoot 24 of 30 from the field last night. Kuzma was 13 for 17. Portis was 11 for 13. That's not going to happen consistently. I think, if anything, you're hoping that they can continue to provide points and rebounds. Bobby was 5 for 6 from 3. That's something else that's a bit unrealistic in terms of continuing to provide that value. But I think those are probably the two guys you're looking at in Milwaukee. Kevin Porter Jr., I think you can take a swing there just because of the usage. He put up a triple-double last night. But, yeah, it just felt like the stars kind of aligned for Milwaukee last night. So I think I would be – I don't know. That one's tough.
Yeah. We talked about the KJ Simpson thing earlier, but for Zach Edey, Jock Landale's going to start, I assume. He's we saw what he was beginning of the season. He's an okay option, not great. They just assigned Brandon Clark to the G League, so don't know how soon he'll be back. And when he comes back, he will have his minutes managed. So probably not too much streaming value there. Anthony Black is a guy that I really, really like, and he's starting now with Franz out. So excited about him. If you need blocks, Jay Huff, cool. I think Noah Clowney's been awesome. I think he is worth streaming for a while. There are other players. It's just I'd rather tell you yes or no than hey, here are some guys. It's easier for me.
Yeah, agreed. I think Clowney is someone who should probably have value for the rest of the season as well, even after Edey returns, just because he's starting and playing good minutes in Brooklyn. So I think he's definitely someone to strongly consider adding if he's sitting on your waiver wire right now. All right, Jiggy would like to know, should I trade my Kobe White for Jaden McDaniels?
I mean, this would have to be like the cop-out answer has to be the fair one here in the sense of like what categories do you need?
Yeah.
But also this feels like a sell low on Kobe White. Because he's only played a handful of games. Yes, he's been dealing with some injuries, but the first few games were good and then he's kind of cooled off. I expect him to play better. So if it's just straight up who I'd rather have, I'd rather just keep Kobe White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say actually just straight up just probably wouldn't do this trade.
Yeah, kind of feel like the only reason why you would do it is if you're in dire need of defensive stats. So that would be the big thing. Kobe's not going to give you much there. Jaden McDaniels, 2 combined steals and blocks per game. So you're going to get good value there. The offense is where you're going to take a hit. So if anything, what does your overall roster look like and what do you need? If you're looking to win those categories specifically, then you consider it. But I think overall, I'd rather have Kobe White as well. All right, JJ Styles, good afternoon to you as well. Can you please rank these players for the rest of the season? Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Wells, Kyle Kuzma, and Herb Jones.
I mean, I'll say pretty confidently feel good about Dante DiVincenzo being 1 here. Rest of season, do I like this order? Maybe just this order because
I think I would have Herb second.
Okay.
Just because of the defensive production. They can give you a little bit more offensively than Wells. Kuzma's a bit of a wild card, so I'd probably have him third and then Wells fourth. That's how I would rank the 3 beyond Dante.
Yeah, I feel confident that Dante's 1, and then it is just kind of Kuzma's should start for a little bit here, might be in and out of the starting lineup. Jalen Wells should be a full-time starter, but how does he look with John Morant expected back tonight? Is he able to stay hot or is he not? And then Herb Jones, I just the defense, like the steal should be there. I can't rely on him for any sort of consistent offense. He'll have games from time to time, but I can't rely on him for consistent offense. So if you need the steals there, then yeah, sure, he's probably 2. If maybe you're less interested in or don't need the defensive stats as much, then he's last. Yeah, that's DiVincenzo first is the thing I'm most confident in.
So basically you got Dante and 3 guys with pretty much wild variances in terms of where they can land on this list. So,
yeah, basically.
All right, Clint, what are your thoughts on Jordan Poole returning last night, and how will he impact Derek Queen?
Did he impact Derek Queen?
He put up 19 shots, which was highest on the team, but it was pretty evenly spread around in terms of the scoring opportunities for those guys. Derek Queen still had 17, 5, and 7 with no turnovers. I think Queen's going to be fine. If anything, I would ask questions of Jeremiah Fears for one. I think he played 25 minutes last night. And then the other one, I think Queen's going to be more impacted by Zion Williamson. What his role is when he returns, because small sample size or not, that team just seems to run pretty well with Derek Queen being used as like a primary playmaker for them. So I don't know. It feels a bit extreme to say kind of move on from former first overall pick, but is it something New Orleans has to consider here with Zion's injury history?
Yes, I think it's something that they probably have been considering for years,
Yeah.
and I think
Hmm.
it's very, I guess if it's like he's not like a talent wise bust, he's a health
Yeah.
wise bust.
Hmm.
But I think he's been dealing with enough injuries that it wouldn't be surprising if they tried to move on from him. The surprising thing would be if someone gave up good value for him. But I don't think Jordan Poole negatively impacts Derek Queen. I don't think that he positively impacts Derek Queen.
Hmm.
I think the more concerning number to me is I'm just getting mad now looking at some of these minutes. Like Jeremiah Fears getting 25, Jordan Poole getting 26 minutes, Jose Alvarado getting 23. Like, I get they won. I get
Yeah.
it. And I get that, that's their goal to win
Hmm.
basketball games. But I don't think getting to 4 wins on the regular season is as important as the long-term development. So hopefully that's not a trend that sticks. Hopefully
Hmm.
Jeremiah Fears will see a larger workload than Jordan Poole
Yeah.
for the rest of the season.
All right. Ridge McGuire, happy Friday to you as well. Please pick one for the rest of the season. DeAnthony Melton or Pat Spencer? I think it's a pretty easy choice for me.
Oh, well, then I'd love to hear your pretty easy choice.
It's Melton. Like as
Okay.
much as I like what I've seen out of Spencer recently, he's still on a two-way deal, so he's going to be limited in terms of how much he can play unless the Warriors change that. And I think it might be something that won't be changed for a little bit because they don't have to make a move right now in that regard. Melton, we've seen him provide really good value when he's healthy and able to play even like 22 to 25 minutes per game. So I think I would rather have Melton for the rest of the season for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just a better fantasy player. I honestly don't feel great about either rest of season because
Hmm.
they've been playing with no Steph Curry, and now you're about to add Steph Curry back into the mix, and he's just going to be the priority. So there's going to be less minutes, less shots. Melton does more defensively, so I'd give him the edge there.
All right, Kool-Aid tripping. I really thought I had a decent team, but I'm struggling right now. What should I do? 12 team, 9 cat, and he gives us his roster here. We got Ant-Man, James Harden, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Miles Turner, Rudy Gobert, Jakob Poeltl, Mark Williams, Peyton Pritchard, Tumani Kamara, Paul George, Grayson Allen, Imaj Keta, and Ryan Rollins.
Um, yes, I agree. I think your team is pretty decent. Honestly, I think it's the centers have just been disappointing. Like Miles
Yeah.
Turner has not been as good as he had been in the past. Jakob Poeltl, I feel more confident in Jakob Poeltl turning around than Miles Turner. Mark Williams has been pretty good. Rudy Gobert has been, for the most part, not great. He's had a couple of nice games in
Mhm.
there. A little health would help.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anybody here that you'd be actively looking to move, Raf?
Um, I try to move one of LaMelo or Brandon Miller for sure. Probably lean more towards LaMelo. I think he hasn't played 50 games since his second year in the league, so he'd be one I'd look to move. Yeah, it's probably too late to sell high on Ryan Rollins, but maybe you can sell someone on the potential with Giannis out, but it hasn't looked great for him these first few games either. So yeah, if you're struggling, you're clearly gonna have to shake something up. And I think I'd lean towards moving at least one of the guys with the checkered injury histories, if anything.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Gosh, maybe you're able to make some sort of 2-for-1 deal with a couple guys, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a handful of slightly underperforming or inconsistent players. Like, yeah, sorry. I think it's like a
Yeah.
talented team, some guys that have been playing pretty well, and then a couple that just haven't been. So,
Mhm. Biggest thing you can do is hope those guys play better. That's
and maybe take that opportunity when they do or stay
to make a
healthy
move. Yep.
for the Melo and Brandon Miller to like trade them then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, JJ would like to know, what's your expectation for Tari Eason once he returns? Is he worth stashing?
He was really good offensively beginning of the season before he got hurt. The defensive stats haven't been there as much as they have been in the past, but don't expect that to stick. Probably some more of the same, hopefully more defensive stats, more like the threes were really good at the beginning of the year. I do think he's probably worth a stash in a 12-team 9-cat league, a shallower league, maybe not, in a points league, maybe not, but pretty standard 12-team 9-cat. I would say he's worth stashing.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think he's got a pretty good ceiling. Say maybe like top 60 or so. That'd probably be the ceiling where I'd give him, given what we've seen in the past. And like we said, I think it was last show, it's like the good news is that this isn't the lower leg injury that he's been dealing with his first couple seasons in the league. So, you know, a little bit better in that regard. So I think he's also worth a stash. But you just kind of have to, he's not going to blow up in terms of the offensive numbers. I know he's been better, but you look at that roster, they don't really need him to do like elite level scoring. And that's not really his game anyway. So I think he's worth stashing, especially if you need defensive stats. And I think he's capable of providing those once he gets back, as Noah mentioned. All right, Kyle, welcome back. Do you guys expect Jaren Jackson Jr. to get back on track with Zach Edey out again and Ja back, or does the slump continue?
That's I'm not optimistic. Yeah. Maybe, and I'm trying to see. Yeah, aside from literally the first game of the season, and he had one other game in there. Like the blocks just haven't really been there this year with or without Zach Edey. So those aren't going to necessarily get much better. The offense has been about the same, maybe a little bit worse recently, but I don't think like Ja being back should in theory help. Like having your starting point guard back should help.
Yeah.
But man, it's been rough for Jaren Jackson. I don't know that if either of those factors directly impact him getting out of his slump. I think it might just be he has to start hitting some more shots or is able to get some more blocks. So, and I don't think that either of those guys directly impact that.
Yeah, the biggest issue are the blocks and the rebounds for me.
Well, the rebounds were never
there. Rebounds, you know what you're going to get from him from a rebounding standpoint, but he's only averaging 1 block shot per game. So that's the biggest concern. Because how do you get on track with it? Obviously, block more shots, but that comes down to scheme as much as, you know, the lack of production on his part. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's looking too great for him. You know, you hope he can get back to like top 100 value, but we all expect a lot more from him than top 100.
Yeah, I thought reintroducing Zach Edey into the lineup would allow Jaren Jackson Jr. to maybe take some more chances on defense, and that didn't really happen. Maybe the last few games have really been rough from an offensive standpoint, so hopefully having Ja back helps that out a little bit. But at some point, like he has to like hit shots, like do it. You know, he hasn't hit a 3 in 4 straight games. It's like,
oh man,
yeah, he just got it. That's all I got, man.
All right, sticking in Memphis, would you drop Jalen Wells for Jock Landale? And I think he mentioned Wells' potential long-term value, but what do you think?
So I'm a touch concerned about how Jalen Wells looks when Ja Morant is back.
Yeah.
Because he's been really good recently without Ja, and how does Ja Morant being back impact his shot attempts, impact, you know, the offense? How does that look? So, but on the flip side, like, I don't think Jock Landale is going to be productive enough that he's like, oh, you gotta stream this guy in because Zach Edey is out. Like, it's Jock Landale. Like, he's solid. He'll get you. Oh, I had his numbers up from when he, like, as a starter this year, because there's 7-4 when Zach Edey starts, 4-9 with Jock Landale. So Jock Landale, 13 starts, 10.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 1.2 threes. It's like probably in a 14 or a 16 team league, he might be worth keeping around. Standard 12 team, meh. So I'd rather just take the chance on Jalen Wells staying hot than banking on Jock Landale popping off, because we've seen what he can do as a starter.
Yeah, I think I would hold on to Wells also. I don't feel great about his long-term value, especially once as you mentioned, once Ja gets back. But I think holding on to him would be a better course of action than dropping him for Jock Landale. Now, if there's someone who you feel a bit more confident in on your waiver wire, then you consider that. But specifically for Jock Landale, I would not do it. Okay. Wemby's got a hypothetical question, I guess. Before the injuries, would you trade Zach Edey and Quentin Grimes for Derek Queen, 9-cat, 12 team?
So before the injury, no, I would have rather had Zach Edey and Quentin Grimes than Derek Queen. Unless it's, I would rather have that side. I don't know which side you are, but obviously now the injury changes everything.
Yeah, the 2-for-1, not for Derek Queen. As good as he's been recently, even before the injury, I would not have done a 2-for-1 for him. Maybe I think Zach Edey healthy would probably be a little too much to give up for Queen straight up. So I would not have done this trade either. All right. You also like to know if Alex Sauer is out indefinitely, do you think it's Vuk time or Justin Champagnie?
What, no Marvin Bagley love?
Yeah, gotta show some love to Money Marv, man. Come on.
I think it's time to go look at a different team, man. I don't think it's time to go to the Washington backups. If I had to choose one, it would be Vukcevic.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's probably time to get out of Washington.
I'd consider Champagnie just because you've also got Chris Middleton's sore knee. He's going to miss another game tonight. And he's at the point in his career where I think Washington probably be willing to sit him down a bit more, just to make sure he's healthy for trade season. Because I think he's someone who could have value to a hopeful contender more so than a team that's looking to strengthen its lottery odds. So of these two, I would consider Champagnie more so than Vukcevic, but that's because Marvin Bagley's probably going to be the starter as long as he's healthy. So, all right, May Licata, and appreciate you tuning in. I went from looking for LeBron James, Jaren Jackson Jr., for Michael Porter Jr. Oh my, this is a lot. To Zubats or Holmgren. Okay, so there's all right. You got Zubats in a trade. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was going to say, because I think this was this on Tuesday we talked about shooting higher than LeBron or Jaren Jackson for Michael Porter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you got Zubats. Do you think Zubats or Harden are as susceptible to being shut down as much as Kawhi?
If I'm comparing the three, I think Zubats is the least likely to get shut down. Mm-hmm. But it's the word unprecedented, I think, is a fair one to use here, because we haven't seen what Tyronn Lue will do with, like, in this situation. We haven't really seen too many teams in this situation where they're going from, hey, we're a contending team and hey, we have these future Hall of Famers, to we don't have our pick and we're one of the worst teams in the league. So how quickly will they pull the plug? Unclear.
Yeah.
But I think that Zubats, being younger and less of an injury history than Kawhi, is less likely to be susceptible to a shutdown. Yeah. Obviously, I would have rather had Chet than Zubats. But if you're able to get Zubats, I think that's great. I think he's less likely to get shut down than Michael Porter Jr. I just feel confidently about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think Zubats or Harden are as susceptible to a shutdown. They've both been relatively healthy.
Yeah.
And Harden's going to play. Yeah, I feel confident in saying that if he can play, he's going to. And probably take a lot for them to tell him that, we're going to go ahead and sit you down just because, we're kind of punting on this season, which, yeah, I think those guys are going to be fine in terms of having rest of season availability as opposed to Kawhi Leonard. Okay, I need to drop one when Porzingis comes back between Herb Jones and Jock Landale. Also an 11 cat, which one would you prefer between Jordan Walsh and
Peyton.
Watson and Peyton Watson. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, Peyton Watson was really good at the beginning, and now he's been rough the last few games. I'd rather hold Herb Jones than Jock Landale. If you need to drop one, Herb Jones, as long as he's healthy, he's a starter. Jock Landale should be starting for a while. Like, it's a 4-week reevaluation for Zach Edey, but it's an ankle. It's a stress reaction. It doesn't mean he's coming back in 4 weeks. So Landale could be a long-term starter. He's just not as productive.
Yeah.
Walsh or Watson. I'd rather have Jordan Walsh. Aaron Gordon, I think they were saying sometime after Christmas. So Watson has a couple weeks left as a starter. I think Jordan Walsh is a starter much longer than that. And Peyton Watson just hasn't been super productive as a reserve. Like, he's had a couple games here and there, but Jordan Walsh has been awesome as a starter.
Yeah, even with my questions about him long term, I think Jordan Walsh would be my pick as well. I would drop Landale in terms of the first question. I'd hold on to Herb, especially for the defensive production. And as we both discussed earlier, Landale really hasn't done enough in prior opportunities to make him someone worth holding on to, especially once you get Kristaps Porzingis back. So. All right, we've got a 3-parter here. Let's see. The commission recently changed our 9-cat into a best ball points league mid-season because our 4-team, 60-man total roster was too much for adjusting. How much will the teams change because of categories versus points? Yeah, and this is just a 4-team dynasty. And it's their first team with the league. So
that's awesome. Wow, that's okay. So that's a lot. So it depends on what points scoring system you're using. That's a factor. Obviously, certain players are better for points. Certain players are better for categories. Like your Paolo Banchero, your RJ Barrett, better for points leagues because they don't get as many defensive stats. The shooting percentage doesn't matter as much. And there's obviously your category league guys like Dyson Daniels is probably the best example. Casey Wall is a good example. Gets steals. Jay Huff's probably a good example. Gets blocks, but doesn't score a ton, so not as good for a points league. Everyone else, like, things are impacted, but they're generally valued pretty similarly.
Yeah.
But also, like, a 4-team league, like 60 player rosters, like that's crazy. Huge. So yeah, it's going to be hard to say exactly. I want to know how much the teams are changing there. I wouldn't think drastically because I'm also not expecting, unless someone was doing a punt bill in a 4-team league where they were punting some of the defensive stats with percentages and emphasize the points, in which case their team probably would be stronger, or someone that was stronger and vice versa. Those are the things that I'm thinking.
This is a lot. I think it's all about how the teams are built. Now, obviously, only 4 teams in the league, so you have a lot more versatility in terms of how you adjust to certain categories. So I don't think it would make a huge difference, but obviously, your scoring system is going to be what tells the tale here in terms of how guys are impacted. But at least everyone agreed to the change, because I don't know how I'd feel about a mid-season format change from categories to points.
Right.
But as you said, everyone agreed. So, hey, they're all on board. That's the most important thing. All right. Should I hit the panic button on Ryan Rollins and Miles Turner?
Rollins, no. Turner, yes. Ryan Rollins, since Kevin Porter Jr. returned, averaging 13.7 points, 3.7 rebounds, 6.2 assists, 2 steals, 1.7 threes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not dramatically concerned, especially with Giannis still out. So also he was a waiver wire pickup. Like, I don't think you need to hit the panic button on him.
Yeah.
Miles Turner, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at numbers, Miles Turner was at his best offensively with Tyrese Halliburton, and he just hasn't been as good without Tyrese Halliburton. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic about Miles Turner turning things around.
Yeah, because obviously there's a huge difference between Milwaukee's guards and Tyrese Halliburton in terms of creating offense for others, and the one person who could provide the greatest amount of gravity for offense on Milwaukee is currently out injured. So, yeah, I would definitely be more concerned about Miles Turner as well, especially when you look at the other stats. Like, never been a great rebounder, but it seemed to sunk to a new low in Milwaukee. The blocks, I guess, I don't know. It's not as, it doesn't look very promising for him this season. So, and to that point, Wemby, like, would you think Turner would bounce back? I'm going to say no. Yeah, I don't have much faith in him bouncing back in terms of fantasy value this year.
Agreed.
All right. And he dropped Jakob Poeltl to stream this week for Neemias Queta. Would you rather have Poeltl and, due to the injuries, the lower back injury, and then not playing back-to-backs either? It's either Poeltl or Queta.
I mean, I don't think Poeltl's a drop, but I also kind of feel better about Queta rest of the season. He's been really good. He's been starting, locked in as a starter. I think Poeltl will bounce back and is worth rostering, though.
Yeah, neither team had a great schedule this week. Boston only played the one game last night. Toronto's lone game was against New York on Tuesday. And their second game against Miami won't be until Monday. So that obviously won't help you for week 8 if you aren't combining week 8 and week 9. So I can understand dropping Queta to stream someone, dropping Poeltl to stream someone, and just not sure about Queta being that choice for the scheduling reasons. But yeah, the lower back issue, I think for bigs, you like lower legs and then lower back. Those are like the two areas that are most problematic when you hear in terms of like long-term potentially being an issue long-term, I should say. So I think overall production in terms of what we've seen over the years, I'd rather have Poeltl, but I can't really say that I blame you too much for moving on either. All right. You'd also like to know Tari Eason or Herb Jones, 9-cat-12 team.
I think this kind of depends on how your team is doing. If you are comfortable waiting on Tari Eason or comfortable taking a chance on the upside, I'd rather have Tari Eason. If you need the safer production and you need it now, Herb Jones. I think, generally speaking, I'd prefer Tari Eason.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Okay, got offered RJ Barrett for Ryan Rollins. Should I do it? Only have Curry, Mitchell, Ryan Nembhard, and Anthony Black as point guard eligible guys.
I think having 4 guys as point guard eligible is enough.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider that as a factor. I don't think I would do this trade because I'd rather have Ryan Rollins, but I don't know if the point guard thing's as much of a factor. It's more so I just think that Ryan Rollins is a better fantasy basketball player than RJ Barrett.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And plus, we don't know for sure when RJ Barrett's going to be back. He had a platelet-rich plasma injection a few days ago, so there'll be an update on him early next week in terms of his availability moving forward. He got off to a really good start in terms of category league value, but that's not really been who he's been throughout his career. So I guess I can see, that being offered, I don't know, it's the person putting up Barrett. But you, on the other hand, I think I'd rather hold on to Ryan Rollins. Even with the recent drop in production, I think he'll be fine overall. I'd rather keep Ryan Rollins than make a move for RJ Barrett, especially when you consider, Anthony Black's available. His fantasy value is really dependent on the injury of Franz Wagner. And Ryan Nembhard, we've seen how Jason Kidd can handle that point guard situation in Dallas. He's played well, but who's to say that another change isn't made even before Kyrie returns. So I would rather hold on to Ryan Rollins in this deal. And he also opines Jock Landale is better than Miles Turner at this point. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's not a wild statement either.
Just curious now. So I said Jock Landale's numbers as a starter earlier, which was 10.7 points, 5.5 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Turner's at 12.3 points and 5.6 rebounds this season, but he does get more blocks, does hit more threes. I think the field goal percentage would be considerably worse, though.
Yeah.
It's a conversation.
Yeah,
I'll have the conversation.
The thing. Like the fact that we're having this conversation kind of to show you how things have gone for Miles thus far, and it hasn't been good. So. All right, Brandon would like to know, is Jakob Poeltl worth the first waiver ad? He's planning on dropping Zach Edey for him, or should I just hold on to him? 12-team head-to-head, 9 categories.
If you have an IL spot, I would just hold Edey.
Yeah.
But obviously, I guess if you're considering dropping him for Poeltl, then maybe your IL spots are used up or something. I think I would because like 4 weeks until Edey gets reevaluated, could be out longer than that. Like he's a 7'4", 300+ pound guy. Like that's a lot of pressure on his ankles. It's a stress reaction. Like could absolutely like that. This isn't giving my opinion, not any sort of medical diagnosis, but he's gonna be reevaluated in 4 weeks. That means like not a guarantee that he is healthy beyond that or immediately. So I'd probably rather just have Jakob Poeltl. Okay, so one IL spot. And Aaron Gordon could be back in like 2 weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
And then you could store Edey in the IL spot. But I think at this point, like Edey might not be back until February, and he might be on a minutes restriction for a little while after that. So I think Jakob Poeltl will be able to figure things out over the next few weeks, month or two. And I think it'd be worth adding.
Yeah, looking forward, between now and mid-January, the Raptors have 3 back-to-backs, including one at the end of next week. So you're probably banking on Poeltl missing 3 games if that's an issue for you. But overall, I think he should be relatively available. So if you're looking for a center who can provide rebounds, decent field goal percentage, maybe get a block shot here or there, but I think I would consider it as well. He's only averaging 0.4 blocks per game, so you're not really looking for that over the past 2 weeks. But 0.8 steals, for the season, 0.5 blocks, shooting 69% from the field. The free throw percentage is poor overall, but I think it's certainly something to consider. Man, it's just too bad you only have one IL spot because I'd rather hold Edey there until we get a little more, a little better idea in terms of how much time he'll miss beyond those 4 weeks. So I think if you need the center production now, I'd definitely go ahead and do it. But yeah, it's tough when you just certainly wish you had 2 IL spots instead of just one. All right, Daniel, thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate you, showing a little love in the chat, asking questions. Hope you have a great weekend as well. All right, Forindaho, if that's how you pronounce it. I hope I got that right. Nurkic and Viche Edgecombe or Noah Clowney and Peyton Watson?
Wait, then he asks in a couple of questions, Watson and VJ or Clowney and Nurkic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. And then, bro, what? Oh.
So I'm gonna say that this is the right combo since it was the most recent one.
Okay.
I'm going to say Watson and VJ. I think VJ is the best player in this deal, then Noah Clowney. And then it's the short-term production for Peyton Watson versus the potentially longer-term production for Nurkic, but I'd rather have Watson. So I'm going to go VJ and Peyton Watson here.
Yeah, this feels like a question where it's basically VJ or Clowney, because you got Watson probably going to take a hit once Gordon and Brown come back, versus Nurkic, who I think is a serious shutdown candidate if they don't move him at the trade deadline. Then you have to also factor in where he could potentially be traded to. So I think I would take VJ over Clowney. That's basically how I look at this question here. So yeah, I guess I'll go with Watson and VJ if anything, but mainly because of VJ.
Mm-hmm.
All right, JJ would like to know, do you foresee Jonathan Kuminga being held out until he's eligible to be traded? Bulls and Kings have shown interest. Big post-trade winner. Could he be a big post-trade winner? I think he's not eligible until mid-January to be moved because of the new contract he signed. So
I can double check that. Because I know a lot of players become eligible the 15th of December and then more January 15th. Yeah, I could see him as a post-trade deadline winner because like I would assume that they're going to give him minutes if they trade for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Yeah. The move is clearly needed. Like it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's January. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll go one question at a time. Do we foresee him being held out?
I don't think I'd go that far, but
yeah, it's Steve Kerr. Who knows?
Yeah,
week to week, it's gonna be different. He could be back starting next week. Like I don't.
Yep.
It seems like it, but things just change. Bulls and Kings have shown interest. Could he be a big post-trade winner? We've seen him have fantasy success playing a large starting role in the past.
Yeah.
It would depend on what he's traded for. And because like if he's in, that's the other thing is like, is he starting at the 3, I would assume in both places, because the Kings would still have Keegan Murray and the Bulls would still have Modest Buzelis. So they'd be starting next to each other. And I'd say he could be. I don't think that I'm stashing him in the hopes that he does get traded and everything works out and he becomes a fantasy star.
I think that's a good way to put it. But yeah, I don't think he gets held out fully. I think there are going to be some opportunities to play, but yeah, I just want like a definitive truth from the Warriors in terms of how they're going to use him. Because it's really frustrating, and I don't even have him on any of my rosters. So, all right. And James would like to know, what do you guys think of Brandon Miller for the rest of the season? Will he go back to last year's production? He was really good last year before
he got hurt, and that's the thing is, can he stay healthy, and can he stay healthy long enough to get into any sort of rhythm offensively? So, I think he can get back to last year's production. Just looking at what he did last year versus this year, the main difference is he's just not hitting as many shots and he's not playing as many minutes. But I think both of those are results of injuries, because first game of the season, played 30 minutes, scored 25 points, had 7 assists, 2 threes, took 19 shots. I think that's probably like the best representation of what things are going to look like when he's healthy and playing a normal role. He played another game, 32 minutes, had 27 points, 5 threes. The last 2 games, he's been around 30, but he's gotten his shots. He just hasn't hit them. So, yeah, I think he can get back to it. It's just, can he stay healthy long enough to make that happen?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Can he stay healthy? Good news is that the most recent shoulder injury did not keep him out as long as the first one did. But when you're talking about subluxations, that's something where it's like, is it fully remedied now, or are we kind of like on that ticking time bomb where the wrong
Right.
hit could put him out for an extended period again? So I think he can get back to that production. His shot attempts were down over 3 per game compared to last season. So that's something else to consider. But I think he can. He needs to be more accurate, obviously, but I think he can be that type of player. And quite frankly, they need him to be that type of player in terms of what they're looking to build in Charlotte. So, let's see. Do you think Gordon can come back before Christian Brown? I think they're on similar timelines. I think most recently, um, David Adelman said they're both probably going to be out until after Christmas at least. So I think you're looking at similar timelines for those guys. Certainly possible, but based on what's been said recently, I think similar timelines for both guys.
Yeah, I agree. It would just be like we'd just be like rolling dice, flipping a coin on which one we think would come back first. Nothing to indicate either way.
Mm-hmm. You're quite welcome. Always appreciate you guys calling in. Not calling in, but chiming in for questions and thoughts. So happy to do it. I'd like to know if Kobe gets moved to the Wolves, who do you think the Bulls get back? Hoping it makes Giddy pop even more if it happens.
Ooh. I've seen those rumors. I haven't seen, like, from what I remember, any mock trades as far as what that would look like. But let's see. Kobe White expiring deal sitting around 13 million. Could it be like Dante DiVincenzo and picks? Could it be Mike Conley and more picks? They don't have, I guess they do have a little bit of draft capital to work with, but they've already moved enough that it's going to be difficult to finagle some. Actually looking at it here. Interesting.
It's funny. I found an article about this, and Timberwolves insider John Krasinski of The Athletic, he basically shot that down. Like, in terms of a trade right now, he said, could that change down the road? Maybe, certainly a name to watch, but nothing percolating yet. And I kind of feel like
I could have swore I just got the
could be someone to be included in a potential deal just because he hasn't really popped in Minnesota, and I don't know, to get someone who could potentially provide value as part of a deep playoff run and you move him, I think they'd probably be fine with that. But they'd have to include someone else in that type of deal too, because Dillingham by himself clearly isn't going to work for the money reasons or the production.
Yeah, I got a Bleacher Report notification like half an hour ago citing The Athletic, saying that Minnesota has quote unquote legitimate interest in him. Okay. And that was from The Athletic, Sam Amick. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that looks like. I think just looking at contracts with Spotrac's trade machine, doing Kobe White for Dante DiVincenzo doesn't work for Minnesota because they would get too much back. So let's see if we add in just like Jalen Clark, if that would work. So yeah, that could work. I don't know, like pick compensation, but Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Clark, Kobe White would start. I don't know if it helps Josh Giddey though.
Yeah. It's in theory to have the ball in his hands even more than he already does, but
yeah, I mean, Josh Giddey's, I would think, I haven't really seen, has his usage gone down with Kobe White there? Like he still gets a ton of usage, but I don't know.
Oh man, I lost track of time. It's already time to go. I think we will go with Adam King for the last question today. Welcome back, sir. We're assuming Jordan Walsh's shooting is unsustainable, but do we think his floor is safe enough to warrant rest of season value?
Yeah, I think we talked about this earlier, that the ridiculous shooting is probably unsustainable, but he looks like he's progressed as a shooter, which is cool. But I think the the floor of his defensive production is enough to me to warrant rest of season value, but I don't think that you're as optimistic.
Yeah, I think he's got more of a chance than Josh Minot did when we were discussing him a few weeks ago. But yeah, I can't. I'm not on that bandwagon yet. Give me a week. We'll see what happens, and maybe I'll be on a Jordan Walsh bandwagon with everyone else, but not right now. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for us. Obviously, it has to because our hour is up. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for sending in some really good, thought-provoking questions. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend, especially the NBA Cup semifinals on Saturday. Take care.